So good morning. Welcome to Lando's Palace. I'm your co-host, Kahari Mosley, with my co-host Nathaniel Broadus and Lukman Abdul Salam. And our homie DJ Big Phil is going to be in the house as well. And yeah, and this is really just an experiment. Um, this is about, a few brothers that really are into Star Wars, that are into, comic books, that are into the Marvel comic universe, and a lot of these things that over the years have inter kind of sected with hip hop culture. You know what I mean? So, we're calling it kind of Lando's Palace because Lando, it's kind of like the original brother of the Star Wars universe back in the '70s, early '80s. Billy D. Williams, and now Donald Glover, and with everything just happening over the past couple of days in the universe with the Disney Investor Day and Mandalorian season 2 coming to a close. We had been talking about this for a few months, and we just decided, what the hell, let's just throw it together. You know what I'm saying? So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Lando's Palace. As they say in Cloud City. So we got Nathaniel Broadus. Let's start with chapter 15. On the Mandalorian. Nathaniel, you can start. And congratulations. On your new edition as well. And then Luke Mon, we'll talk about, chapter 15, and then we'll kind of have a broader view of season 2 overall, then talk about our favorite episodes of season 2, and then kind of like preview, the next chapter, chapter 16 in the season 3. But let's start with chapter 15, The Believer. Nathaniel, share your thoughts of, what you thought about the episode.
What, man, it went down. It's crazy. It's like, they got their Mandalorian Avengers squad out here wreaking havoc on the galaxy. You know what I mean? Like, episode 14 really set the table. You know what I mean? Like, episode 14 kind of hit me hard. I watched it with my brother, and we were like, at the end of the episode, we're like, all right, so they're about to wrap this season up. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell
Right.
they're bringing this thing to full circle right now. And episode 15 just built on that, man. Like, them guys and ladies, like, we're really out there. And it was just really awesome being able to see Boba Fett, you know what I mean, returning from, the pit of the Sarlacc, you know what I mean, to like tear all these dudes up, man. It was just like, as a guy who really grew up, really into not only the films, but like the extended universe of Star Wars. Like, I grew up reading a lot of like the novels and stuff like that.
That's right.
It was really dope to be able to see, like, wait a second, I could connect this thing that I'm watching on Disney Plus in 2020 to a book that I read back in 1997. Like that, like that's wild. Like this is a next level of making art right here. Like, you know what I mean? I was super impressed. I thought that the way that they wrapped the episode up, you know what I mean, with Mando talking to Darth Sidious over the hollow communicator. Oh my goodness, it was like, it was everything that I could have expected. I'm really hurt that they're wrapping this season up, man. I could do another 10 episodes, but yeah, man, I'll let Luke Mon get into it.
Yeah.
Nah, man. I was like listening to your whole recap. I think, first of all, this last episode was like Star Wars classic. You know what I mean? Like, they've gotten back to like strong character development. Even when they introduced the character, like, they had my man up in there last episode, the comedian Bill
Burr.
Huh?
Bill Burr.
Yeah, exactly. My man. Yeah, Bill Burr. So even when they introduce a new character, you can kind of feel the character development immediately. You know what I mean? And that's classic Star Wars, man. That's first movie Star Wars, first trilogy Star Wars, where character development is real key. And they lost that over the last so many years, you know what I mean? Particularly with the last movies where character development was poor. I think the character development is strong. I think this was like the buddy movie. I think it was ill, the whole like pre-facing of like, yo, you can't show your face when they're riding, going to the moon. Like, well, you ain't gonna take off your helmet. Then when he gets there, he has to take off his joint. He has to take off the helmet. It's like, oh man, he had to take it off. And then Bill, like, he plays him nice. He's like, all right, man, I'm gonna act like I never saw you.
Right.
So ill, I think he's still learning, because he's like almost like real hardcore with his Mandalorianism. You know what I mean? It's like nobody's blacker than me. You know what I'm saying? You only could be black this, you know what I'm saying? You only could wear your afro. No, man, you can't wear that like that. You know what I mean? That's kind of how he's rolling. And so
Absolutely.
It's kind of ill to see that and see his progression, particularly with the baby and how he grows with the baby. So that's just my recap of the last episode. I thought it was it was dope, but I thought it was a filler episode to the next joint. I think the next couple gonna be off the chain. Even though this episode was ill, I loved it, but it was a filler episode to me to the next joints, the next couple joints. Like as you said, they're gonna wrap up. This is how I see it. You know.
Right. Yeah.
Luke, Mom, when Bill Burr shot my man in the face, though.
Right.
Bro, I had me with the.
Yo, man, you had it
right.
Like the tension in there was so crazy, yo.
Right.
And
Right.
just out of the blue was like, what? You're right.
Right. And the ill part is Rick Famuyiwa, Nigerian brother from Southern California, that the directed episode. He actually also wrote that episode as well.
Right.
So that wasn't Favreau or Filoni that wrote that. You know what I mean? He wrote the episode as well. You know what I mean? And I thought, I mean, Mayfeld, I mean, he's become now an iconic Star Wars character, in 10 minutes of screen time, and I think, one of the baseball, coaches I coach with is a big Star Wars fan, and we text each other. And I texted him that, what I kind of got out of that episode was kind of like, the idea of, obviously paraphrasing the old saying, the man makes the suit. You know what I mean? It's kind of like Mando makes the suit. You know what I mean? The suit doesn't make Mando. You know what I mean? It was kind of like sending that message that who he is inside makes him a Mandalorian. You know what I mean? Not the mask and the suit. You know what I'm saying? It's the dude that he is. And, and then it's almost like after he took off the mask and put it back on, his voice was that much more clearer. You know what I mean? His purpose seemed that much more clear in his message to Moff Gideon. To me, it was like, it almost seemed like he leveled up, you know what I mean? Into, his different level on his hero journey. You know what I mean? It was almost like he had to take that off to realize it was him inside, you know what I mean? Who's really the Mandalorian, not the cat, you know what I mean, in the suit, you know what I'm saying, itself, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of like, what I drew from it was like this ill, like, transformation that, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, it was like he took the same exact line from Gideon, but it was coming from a place of like agape love. It was coming from a place of concern. It's like, you don't know what he means to me because I care about him just for who he is, not for his powers or what he can do. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that trope that goes on in Star Wars of like kind of take care of the kids, because it's always about these foster kids. You know what I mean? These kids that kind of get left to the side, these kids from single parent homes, these kids without resources that get left, and then, then turmoil, all over the galaxy.
Wow.
Yo, that's so real about the man that makes the suit and the, vice versa. And I was actually having a conversation on the episode because, he was in the Imperial costume when they were trying to infiltrate the base. And me and my brother were talking, and I'm just like, man, these guys probably wouldn't be attacking him if he had the Mando armor on. They would probably see the Mando armor and be like, we're cool off this. But it's not because the armor makes the man. It's because the armor lets you know there's that badass dude in there. Don't come over here. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Luke Mon.
Nah, man. Nah, definitely, man. I didn't really see that. You're going to make me look at that again. You know what I mean? How he kind of like reformed himself. You're right, man. Now I'm looking back. I'm like, yeah, he did have a much more like stronger voice, stronger presence, after he took off the helmet. It almost like it freed him up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like relaxed him a little bit, Now that's deep. Nah, I think another thing though that I want to kind of add on to what Nathaniel was saying about them bringing in all types of stuff from novels, from video games. I mean, episode like last episode, man, it was the stormtroopers from the video game from the 90s.
Right.
And I mean, stuff like that you're seeing all the time, and they're just breaking all the rules for fans, for true. It's like they gave Star Wars back. You know what I mean? I know you're going to go to another point, Kahari, but I just kind of wanted to real quick. It's like,
no. Feel free to.
Like they gave it back to us, man.
Right. Right. And I was actually telling Nathaniel that if you haven't checked it out yet, definitely check out on the Disney Plus the Star Wars Gallery. It's the 8 episodes where they interview the filmmakers and the artists and the technical artists behind the Mandalorian. And they talk about their various backgrounds or where they come from. I was just sharing Carl Weathers' interview and how he talked about how he was in Rocky when Star Wars came out, so it was kind of like, oh yeah, some kids thing, and then he later got into Joseph Campbell and the hero of a thousand faces and the stuff that Star Wars is really based upon, which is basically the foundations of every major kind of religious theory, going back, thousands of years. And then Carl Weathers really got into it. So it made me really appreciate the siege, that much more. Because to me, it was like if George Lucas could take like the dopest actors and filmmakers and do his own camp. And then it's like, and you come out with your fan feel for George Lucas. Like, to me, that's what the siege was. It was like the ultimate, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
film school, you know what I mean? A+ for the professor, like the professor, like this is exactly what I wanted, you know what I mean? Because it was almost like it was like also almost like a mini New Hope, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Within the parameters of the shorter, timeline, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but like, yeah, I think that brings us to like, the overall season 2, of the Mandalorian. Obviously, you know, uh, it's kind of, I think, it was interesting how you said it was like a filler. It feels like, I think a lot of the episodes were not necessarily filler, but it was kind of like, these weird, kind of pit stops to
The-
get
the-
us to kind of where we're at now. You know what I mean? And kind of like these cool journeys, definitely like a lot of cool, stuff, happened, but it was kind of like from the Ahsoka, well, really from the Bo-Katan to the Ahsoka episodes was kind of really
Mhm.
gave, the season, more direction. But I'd love to hear, you guys' thoughts on, on season 2. We'll go to Luke Mon and then back to Nathaniel.
Um, the last 2 episodes, chapter 13 and chapter 14, was for me the best Star Wars content I've seen visually since like Empire Strikes Back stuff. I mean, I don't know I don't know how I can like, maybe am I hyping it too much? No, like the last episode, the chapter 15 was dope. Don't get me wrong, but the lead up to chapter 13, the Ahsoka episode, and the episode after that, chapter 13 and 14, for me as a Star Wars head, like looking at that was like classic. That was like looking at like Return of the Jedi when I was a kid. Like,
Right.
felt like that. You know what I'm saying? It felt like after those episodes, like, man, what did I just watch? Like, and so that to me is the crux of the whole episode. I mean, the Ahsoka episode, the Jedi stuff they were doing in there, I've never seen before.
Right.
I've never, like, please, if you read that in the, like, the stuff that they doing, the stuff that she did, the stuff that the baby's doing is like I've never seen before as far as like Jedi lore. So they're doing that like crazy. So anyway, man, I can go on and on about it. I think the last two, the chapter 13 and chapter 14, just basically wiped out anything that Disney did with Star Wars over the last decade. Just those 2 episodes alone, let alone forget about season 1 of Mandalorian and the rest of season 2 of Mandalorian. I think those 2 episodes, and then and then chapter 14, the fight scene with, I mean, Rodriguez directed that joint, right? So
Right.
after
Absolutely.
when I saw that he directed it, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Because the
Right.
fight scenes, my goodness, it looked like they were done on Super 8 camera, like handheld,
Right.
like you were right there when Boba Fett was, I mean, oh my goodness. And he fought off the whole squad, yo.
Yeah.
He backed off the whole squad. It was like 2 shit
Right.
loads of them cats. It was like, yo, back up. You know what I'm saying? It was like, that was incredible, And then
Right. Yeah.
up out of the blue, it just kept going on and on and on. And the last thing I have to say too is just the action, it keeps coming. Like even in the last episode, when them cats was coming when they were on the planet,
Oh yeah.
the cats that worship
Yeah. The pirates.
the birds, they kept coming, yo. They fought them off, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Boom, they come again. Man, I was like, man, they keep coming. They came like 4 times, man. They was deep.
Right.
Like, It kept coming, and you know what I'm saying? It's like that stuff like that. The action sequences and the way that they set it up is just this is crazy. So that's just my take. I don't know if I went on. I don't know if I answered the
No,
question.
no. Yeah, no, Nathaniel, you jump in on season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Yo, so obviously I love it, right? That's that. But see, honestly, like I found myself towards the middle of the season, maybe getting a little bit weary. You know what I mean? Where I wasn't, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't, didn't feel as invested into it. But the last 3 episodes were really just like, bro, like, no, hold on a second. There's something going on. Don't miss this. You know what I mean? And episode 15 really solidified that for me. But something I thought about Luke Mon, and it's something I've been thinking about since the first season, but something you just said made me think about it. I feel like a lot of this series is set up to feel like a video game. You feel like that episode, that scene with the pirates, you gonna tell me that doesn't feel like a video game where they just keep coming, you beat the first wave, and they just keep sending more?
Right.
And then in the first season, I swore this was going to go like this. I actually made a bet. I lost the bet. But my bet was that the story was ultimately going to be that he had to travel around and acquire new pieces of Beskar to like build up his armor, right? It didn't wind up being like that, but like, you know what I mean? I just felt there's elements in there that just feel like a video game, but also everything about it feels like classic Star Wars. You know what I mean? And then, like you brought about with Rich Rodriguez, an episode he directed, and me and Kari were talking prior to us getting started. You know, they have all these directors that they're bringing in, doing great work, but it all comes out still feeling like Star Wars. It feels cohesive. But in that same token, they're all able to put their individual spin on the product that they're making. So Carl Weathers was able to take all these things that he learned, you know what I mean, about George Lucas and apply them to his episode. And Rich Rodriguez did what he did as Rich Rodriguez and made an episode that was crazy. I just think that they're really putting together a crazy piece of art, man. I love all the Star Wars stuff, and it's really dope because, like, you know, it's something for the whole family,
right?
You know what I mean? And it's still like super badass. So, you know,
right,
I love it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, yeah, like you said, just jumping back to the chapter 14, the tragedy. You know, and what made to me that just so ill because I was just like, there's been like 40-year buildup, right? You know, from the Star Wars holiday episode. You know what I mean? Because if I'm not mistaken, I think Boba Fett was even a toy, before he appeared, really in canon. You know what I mean? Which was in Empire Strikes Back. You know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't in, A New Hope. You know what I mean? And you really don't really get to see him. And the most you see of him, is obviously his faithful fall into the Sarlacc pit. And then after that, you see the prequels. So this was the first time you really got to see Boba Fett live action, you know what I mean, in action. And, obviously he didn't disappoint, I think, Tamara Morrison, the lines that he was just delivering. You know what I mean? When he said, sometimes fate steps in to rescue the wretched. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's just poetry. You know what I mean? Like, and he was just he was just so badass. That the entire episode, and then like his character arc. You know what I mean? Because back in the day, it was like Boba Fett was badass just because he was just a badass. But now, he's like this reformed badass. You know what I mean? With a purpose. And meaning kind of like and then I think his interaction, with Boba Fett, because I think the moment with the chain code and everything, and him telling his background, because I think that was, Mando's way of saying like, yeah, you're Mandalorian, because he said the armor's yours. So then it made him think that like, man, like maybe this idea of was a Mandalorian is bigger than what I thought, you know what I mean? Because he clearly comes from a very kind of fundamentalist sect, of the Mandalorian culture, you know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like him now. He's meeting like reformed Mandalorians and progressive Mandalorians, and he's like, whoa, but he couldn't deny the fact that really, at the heart, Boba Fett is a Mandalorian too. You know what I mean? Right. Maybe not technically, but you know what I'm saying?
But I would say in the spirit of it, Boba Fett is probably one of the most Mandalorian. Right. He was out here doing Mando stuff his whole life, whether he knew it or not.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's so cool. And I didn't mean to cut you off, Carl. One of the things about Boba Fett that I thought was really ill is, So I remember like seventh grade, I read a book. It was the Star Wars Bounty Hunter novel, and it was just a bunch of different anthology stories about bounty hunters.
Oh, yeah,
And in
yeah,
the
the tales of
Boba
the
Fett
tales of
chapter,
the bounty hunter.
yeah, in the Boba Fett chapter, he crawled out of the Sarlacc pit after like 30 years of his like armor being digested. He had cancer. He was dying. And then he popped up on my screen looking like he just rolled out of that situation, yo.
Right.
Like I was sitting there like little like 12, 13-year-old Nate was sitting there like, what? Like, oh, like I'm telling you, man, they did an amazing job.
I remember that
Respect
compilation.
for the canon is incredible.
Yeah, now I remember that compilation. It was called Tales of the Bounty Hunter. I think Bosk was in it. You know what I'm saying? And some of the other, you know what I mean? That was classic. You know, bounty. The droid bounty hunter.
Yeah, man.
I think that you know, just even how you rolled up on him. You know, like yo, man. You know what I mean? Like in chapter 14 when Boba Fett rolled up on him, like yo, man, give me my joint, give me my staff. You know, like that's my father's. You know, he's like, huh? Are you Mandalorian? He's like, yo, man, don't even worry about that, basically, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? You don't even know this. Like, I'm more Mandalorian than you even think. You know what I mean? Like, just how he rolled up on him. And you're right, man. Just their relationship with Mando and him, he's like kind of Mando's like master, basically. You know what I mean? Like Jedi master, basically, in the Mandalorian. If you look how they're like kind of rolling and how he's kind of like schooling them on the low. You know what I'm saying? He's schooling them low. And you're right, man. I didn't even know how Boba Fett got out of that piece. I didn't even know nothing about the novel. I remember Return of the Jedi, right? In the movie, and him going, because Boba Fett was the toy, yo. Like back in the day, you're right, Kahari, when Star Wars came out, they didn't even have Boba Fett. But they started promoting Boba Fett before Empire Strikes Back. So Cass was out, man, getting this new character, man. Like, yo, that was the action figure Boba Fett. If you had that on the yard, you was the
that was the hottest one.
You was the man if you had the Boba Fett joint back in the day. So making all of that, bringing all up to now, like him dying away, seeing how he dove into that pit in Return of the Jedi, and you're right, having them come face to face. I was like, when I was watching, I was like, yo, is that Boba Fett? Yo, how did he get out that piece? You know?
Right.
I didn't even know nothing about that novel, right? Bounty Hunt. I didn't even know, but you just shared what it was. For them to be able to get that detail, right? And put that detail in this show shows the Turkey that shows their, like, you know what I mean? Their painstaking effort and how they're getting all the details from all canon to this piece. So it makes me excited for what's to come, basically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's Dave Filoni. You know what I mean? From who folks who don't know Dave Filoni, who was the co-creator, of Star Wars Rebels, the animated series with George Lucas, who was an animator for the Fox show King of the Hill, and is a Pittsburgh area native. When you peep him on the scene of the Mandalorian, when you check out the Star Wars gallery, he's deep in it, and he's always rocking a Pittsburgh Penguins hat. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But that's him. He's a big time Star Wars fan.
No, and but I ain't mean it bad. I've been the Dave Filoni.
No.
I mean, he's the one that he's like next to George, so he's getting all of the lore right from George, and he's like us. He's ahead, so he knows about all the toys. He knows about all the games. He knows about all the novels. He done read all the novels. You know what I mean? And he's also online, so that's how they got. I mean, how Rosario Dawson became Ahsoka was because of fans, yo, and he saw what the interaction online and was like, "Yo, man, let's go to the Disney execs and let's push this." So he saw the interaction online and got her casted as Ahsoka. Really, that comes from the fans, yo, because we all saw that a couple years ago when they started posting, you know what I mean, stuff about her being a character of Ahsoka. He saw that online and took it. You know what I mean? So he's not only is he there, he's the producer, but he's ahead, and he's like he's like he wants to like kind of preserve the lore, you know?
Right.
And I mean, I know you probably know this, but like George Lucas, man, he was upset over the last movies, like over the response of the last movies that Disney put out. You know, Force Awakens all the way up to Return of the Jedi. What was it? Return of the Sky, whatever. I didn't even forget.
Rise of Skywalker.
Like this Mandalorian season has made me forget about the last 3 movies. Like I don't remember them. You know what I mean? Like they're not rememberable to me because these episodes has wiped them out. So that's kind of wanted to say that about Dave Filoni. And it's about time that they put him in on the action side. We've been saying this, man. I've been talking to heads for years, like after Clone Wars. Like, man, why don't they put dude and have him just make the movies? You know what I'm saying? And they finally put him on that side and you see what's going on.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. You know, and one of the interesting things, like you said about Dave Filoni, him being a fan, him being the cat that would be going to the Comic Cons and the Jedi Cons and whatever, you know, whatever have you, Star Wars celebrations, and you know, and actually on the Star Wars Gallery, one of the episodes they talk about how in the various episodes they're always throwing Easter eggs for the hardcore fans, like in an episode, I guess it's in the Child. When Werner Herzog's character, the client, gives him the Beskar, you know, and that's a shout out to the homie that was running in Cloud City with the ice cream maker. You know what I'm saying? And they have, you know, a running of the ice cream makers at the Star Wars Celebration where 300 people dress up like the brother, you know what I'm saying? You know, with the Hamilton Beach ice cream maker, and he's running through Cloud City with it. You know what I'm saying? And it was like they wanted to design something that looked just like it because it was like, what was that? You know what I mean? So it's like that level of detail, you know, in shouting out the fans, you know, is a big part, you know what I mean, you know, of what, you know, they do, you know what I'm saying, with him. And like Favreau is more of a newcomer, you know, to the culture. So Filoni, you know, because even like in the final episode of season 1, you know, they ran out of extras. And they needed to get stormtroopers, so they called in the 501. And since Filoni is ahead, Filoni knows all the 501s. You know what I'm saying? So they called in 501s from Northern California, Southern California. Couldn't tell them what they was coming for. They thought they were coming for a special corporate event. You know, because I've been at corporate events where the 501 has come through. You know, dressed up as stormtroopers and the Imperial Guard. And you know, there was a guy who had cancer that did a special screening of The Force Awakens a few years ago. And, and then even when you go to the premieres of the Star Wars movies, the 501 will be out there. And these are people, they make their own uniforms and, you know, they do their own thing. So they get to the set and they're like, yo, we couldn't tell you what you were hearing, but you're here as extras on the Mandalorian Disney Plus show. And they're all bugging out like, what? You know what I mean? But they was like, they were perfect. They was like, they knew how to move. They were in formation because they're stormtroopers. Right. Like they were better than the extras. You know what I'm saying? And it's like about 40 of them showed up, and that's how they were able to get the scene done. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that ill. You know what I mean? But yeah, but definitely check out the Star Wars Gallery, man. The episodes, they're almost as good as the Mandalorian. You know what I mean? Because they're just talking about the art of storytelling. You know what I mean? They got Bryce Dallas Howard. You know what I mean? Ron Howard's daughter. You know, who's done a number. She did the episode of Frog Lady. She did the Frog Lady, which was that the Passenger. You know, she did the Passenger episode, and then she did the Sanctuary episode in season 1. You know, but she talks about when she was a kid, and she was like, my dad, obviously who's Ron Howard, you know, went on a business trip, and we had dinner with Kurosawa and George Lucas in Tokyo. You know what I mean? So she's like, all my life I've been around storytelling and storytellers, so it's only right that, you know, I'm into storytelling. That's the thing I really like about it more so. They're not talking about it movies and TV shows and novels and graphic novels. They're talking about it from the aspect of storytelling. You know what I mean? The oldest art form, really the oldest form of communication. You know what I mean? And how that's kind of at the heart of everything they do, even with and, you know, and everything else goes with it.
Yeah, one of the things I really appreciate about Star Wars, man, is just how wide open the canon is. Like, right. Like the illest thing to me is like, you know, we got the films, we got the books, we got the comics, right? And all of that is canon. But also, so like I'm at home, and I have a 9-year-old daughter, and we were watching the Freemaker Adventures. It's a Lego show on Disney Plus, and they're just on there like dropping like hardcore facts about the Darksaber, and this was before I had seen the Mandalorian. So I'm just like, huh, like what is this thing? So I'm like Googling it and I'm like, okay. And then I see it on Mando and I'm like, wait a second, but the last time I saw this was on the Lego show that I was just watching with my kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like how deep does this thing go? And the fact that, you know, they're able to connect, you know what I mean, the canon with these different audiences is important to me. And that's also why I don't absolutely hate the newest set of movies. Like, I just think that was part of the biggest goal. One of the cool things, and this is a little bit off topic, but I think it's kind of cool is, you know, like my daughter when she was little was big into like Disney princesses and stuff. And we went to Disney World one day and we're walking in and they're doing like a Star Wars demonstration and it's like a actress dressed as Rey fighting some stormtroopers. And we walk in and she was like, "Dad, I want to be that kind of princess." And I was like, all right, like, this is hard. This is hard. So, you know what I mean? But it really is amazing to see them be able to kind of close out that chapter. And one of the things I always said is that I always felt like television is a better medium for telling these stories than film, just because the can is so wide and so deep. You could get way more in a 10-episode series than you can in the 8 years that it takes you to make a 3-hour movie.
Right. I want to welcome Big Phil in the house, DJ Big Phil joining us. You know, we've been talking all about the Mandalorian season 2, the last couple episodes. So, is there anything you want to share? You know, specifically first about The Believer, chapter 15, and then, you know, your thoughts about season 2, the Mandalorian overall.
I think my answer is encompass both of the questions. Just dope. It's just dope. It's just dope. And I also like to say that Nate is the ops, but we're gonna let Nate stay on here because
Nate, I'm the expert on the call. What you mean?
Nate is the ops, man.
No, man, come on.
They always be giving me issues with my theories on stuff. But no, I think now is a good time to be a fan.
Right.
And I think that's just it. I will say I love the Mandalorian, but I do have a love-hate relationship with the Mandalorian.
Okay.
I feel like I'm watching I don't watch episodes unless I'm watching with my youngest. My youngest is like the biggest. He's a bigger Star Wars fan than me, and it's like I don't know how that happened, but you know, Fridays we wait to done with our schoolwork. So, you know, the Mando's on and we just go for it, you know. But my only issue is that I feel like there's cliffhangers after each episode, but then it's almost not a cliffhanger. Like I feel like I would like for the I would like to feel like the stakes are a little bit bigger. I believe the stakes are big, but I never really feel like Mando's in danger. I never feel like
he's not. Everybody else is in danger.
Right, but I'm saying, but it's even besides for. I love every episode. I feel like the second episode with the spiders and the ice. I mean, now when I was on the edge of my seat, like, oh man, this is like some Indiana Jones, Star Wars.
Right,
like,
exactly.
I was like, oh man, this is. I'm like, okay.
That was the passenger.
I felt like
the
Spielberg
passenger. Yeah.
And I like when Baby Yoda was eating the eggs and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, he don't care. He's savage, man. He's going for it, you know. But I just feel like with there only being one episode left, there has to be a very big payoff, but it not coming back till Christmas. And I was saying that if you notice in the last, not this past episode, but the 3 episodes before, how they introduced various characters from the canon each episode, but each episode it was a bigger character each time. You know, it was like, oh, this is crazy. Then it was like, oh, this is crazy. The same one, and I damn near lost it. I mean, I was like, oh, they went to go there. My youngest said that signal kind of tight on them. But I'm loving it. I'm loving it so far. I'm just worried that this next episode, I don't know. Y'all gotta bring out Luke or something. Like, there has to be something to end this last episode. Like it can't just end like how the episodes have ended. It just can't because I
Right.
don't know. It just can't. There has to be something because I feel like there's even with this arc. I just feel like the arc just did it. I watched it because I love it. Even with Baby Yoda not being in the joint, you didn't miss him this episode.
Right.
You didn't worry like, oh man, are they tearing him up? Like at no point are you sitting there like, man, what's going on with him? I mean, that's the only part I feel that's missing. Like we should be in such despair. Like when Han Solo got froze, oh, we was sick 3 years.
Hey, that's what I was going to say, Phil. You got to wait a couple of years for that next movie to come out. Y'all was shook.
I feel like too with that. I will say this: the storytelling and there's a different way you write a 2-hour script than you write something that you know you can put in 8, 9, 10 episodes.
Absolutely.
When you watch a 2-hour movie, you feel like you're watching a movie. When I'm watching a series, as dope as it is, I still feel like I'm just watching a really dope series per se. You know if that makes any sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll see, man. I mean, they got to bring out something, man. They got to bring out Darth Maul. I mean, they got to go crazy. Like there has to be something that makes me say, okay.
There's supposed to be a Jedi. I feel that's what they're saying. There has to be a Jedi. They're saying he's either going to be Mace, Luke, or Ezra from Star Wars Rebels. Because if you notice, the story arc, because Star Wars Rebels is Dave Filoni's baby, right?
Right.
As well as Clone Wars. So he's introduced a lot of stuff from Star Wars Rebels in Mandalorian, if you're really familiar with the Star Wars Rebels cartoon series. So it may be Ezra from the cartoon series that comes back to save, you know what I'm saying? So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, because we don't know.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Phil. Go ahead.
I think Ezra would be dope. I just don't feel like Ezra would have the impact of a.
Oh, Luke! No, you're right. No, Luke.
I need Luke. I need Luke just because I feel like when they put Luke in the one dude who wrote what Star Wars was that had Luke come back.
The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi. That dude. There was just like, I'm just gonna make my own movie. I'm coming up with my own mythos. I don't care about the other material. I'm just gonna do what I want to do. And I'm just like, come on, man. George Lucas laid the blueprint out. You don't go back in there and you know if your mom give you the directions how to make the cookies, man. You don't put carrots in them. Excuse my language. You don't put carrots in them, John. Man, you just keep it going, man. He just was like, I mean, what is this dude doing? You know, and I just feel like we gotta redeem Luke. Luke was a beast, man. Like when we was kids.
Right.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
You picked up sticks and you ran around the yard making lightsaber noises, man, because you wanted to be Luke Skywalker.
Right.
So
I mean, I think we were expecting, you know what I'm saying, the same kind of like how before you jumped on, we talked about how, there's been this long anticipation to really see Boba Fett get busy. And then when he finally appeared, you know what I'm saying, in this episode of The Mandalorian, it didn't disappoint. You know what I mean? I feel like after that long wait, you know what I mean, of Luke, it's like we finally get to see the Jedi Master, you know what I mean, the Grand Master Jedi, Luke, you know what I mean? It was kind of like, you know what I'm saying? It was kind of like this grumpy, this kind of grumpy baby boomer, you know what I mean? Dropped much acid with Bill Walton.
I keep telling you, Nate's the ops, yo. He is the ops, yo.
Hold on, but did Luke not get busy in the Last Jedi? I haven't seen it in a while, but didn't he?
I mean, he did something, he did something miraculous, you know what I'm saying, where he transported himself across the galaxy, which is super dope. But we, like Captain My era was expecting the Boba Fett introduction, you know what I mean, just come through, smashing, you know what I'm saying? And it was I mean, I can understand why he was like, oh, I'm gonna go left, but I think that's the cool thing with Filoni and Favreau is that they're going new places, but they're also finding this balance of fan service with creative storytelling, and then also not necessarily being captive, to the fans, and to the canon, but finding that balance between, moving it forward, but still not coming totally out of left field. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's kind of like the loop.
My problem.
If you look, go ahead.
My issue with that is this. Listen, when I listen to an Earth, Wind, and Fire record, I don't want to hear the Isley Brothers. Okay? I buy Earth, Wind, and Fire records to hear Earth, Wind, and Fire. I don't buy Earth, Wind, and Fire to hear the Temptations. When I watch Star Wars, I want Star Wars. I think the Mandalorian is dope because it's almost like, let me go back and fix up all this mess and make it connect and make it make sense and make it work, instead of things being all over the place. My problem with The Last Jedi was with Luke or whatever, was that I needed Luke to get busy with the lightsaber. I don't go see a Conan movie for Conan to throw arrows, shoot arrows at somebody. No, man. Luke, light the lightsaber up. Get busy. All that Force stuff, that's nice. It's dope. Oh, man, that's so powerful. No, man, I wanted to see Luke and old boy go at it. The only saving grace for that film was, I will say this, it did have one of the best Star Wars fight scenes ever. That scene in the Red Room where it was all red was unbelievable. It was crazy. Even though dude still shouldn't have went out like that. Like, he didn't know that he was going in with the lightsaber. Anyway, leave that alone. Back to the Mandalorian. I'm sorry. I get it. I get emotional when I think about that movie, man, because it's like, man, I can't believe I did that to me.
No,
it's like a Rambo movie. He's not shooting, he's wrestling people the whole movie. Come on, man.
Jay-Z's a rapper, but if he made movies, he would probably say, if you want to watch my old movie,
I'm not doing that with
buy
you,
my
Nate.
old movie.
I'm not doing this. It's the problem with Nate. Nate just be trying to. I'm not doing that with Nate. That's not the point. Listen. You see, put it like this. At the end of Rogue One, when Darth Vader came out for 5 seconds.
Oh yeah.
And he swung that lightsaber. That's the dopest. That was the dopest thing ever. I don't listen. That's what would have happened with Luke. You missed the moment. And Rogue One is my youngest daughter's favorite Star Wars movie. Isn't that crazy?
Rogue One's classic, man.
Rogue One's your favorite.
Rogue One's good, man. Rogue One's good. It got the most classic Darth Vader scene ever.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. You've never seen Darth Vader really get busy. He was like old and fat, swinging the sword and Return of the Jedi. Man, them weak ass man. There was some. Listen, when you go back and watch those lightsaber battles, man, they don't hit the same like when you was a kid, man. Like, I was like, oh man, this wasn't great choreography, because like this ain't hot. This ain't it. But I don't know.
But no, the one thing I wanted to say to Nate though, man, like if you look at the canon, the reason why old heads is real down on the whole Luke Skywalker portrayal, it's because he's the greatest Force user, one of the greatest Force users in canon, next to Vader and next to Yoda. You know what I mean? So in all the novels and all the comic books and all the stuff that happened post Return of the Jedi, the stories we hear is like, oh, Luke was off the hook. And then to see him in a movie like that, a real letdown, So it'd be nice because in the canon and the timeline, Mandalorian, Luke is out there. Luke is setting up.
Right.
Supposedly, he's redoing the whole academy. You know what I mean? So that's supposedly what's going on. So it would be nice if they get the right cast member, they get the right cat to be Luke Skywalker. That would be ill. I would be done. And if you
Luke, I've been saying for a couple of years they need to do a Jedi Academy TV series. That would be huge. That would be huge. You know what I mean? I mean, honestly, it will probably be a kid's show because that's just how stuff like that goes on the Disney platform. But that would be huge for what they're doing, and you could tell so many stories. And like, there's a whole that whole period of the fall of the Empire. The Emperor is still out there too, like in Star Wars canon. Right. You know what I mean? So like, there are a lot of Jedi to be. I wasn't even thinking about like Jedi to be in that Darth Sidious conflict, but there's a bunch of guys out there, or Darth Gideon conflict. Right. There's a bunch of guys out there, yeah.
Right. Yeah, my only thing.
Go ahead. My only issue
Go ahead.
with the timeline is this, and I need brother Kari with your great Jedi knowledge, my brother. I need for you to explain something to me. How come in Rogue One, Jedi are a myth? People are like, man, because as far as I'm concerned, this wasn't 1,000 years ago between when the Jedi are super active. And they're
Right.
active so much afterwards. So my only issue with them is how do you fix up that the Jedi are a myth or is this ancient religion? It's not an ancient religion. It's like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe. So
Right.
I feel like that is the only chink in the armor in the Star
That's a
Wars
good point.
mythos because they go very hard and man, it's a myth. How do you believe in that ancient religion? Those winners came here yesterday. This ain't ancient. They was just here. So I don't understand. And there's so much that has happened with the Jedi. I mean, you got Death Stars blowing up planets, like, and the Jedi
Right.
going to help in this, like that. Them ain't just folklore. This is, you're able to Zoom video teleconferences in your living room with people. Like people are able to see these things. So for me, I don't understand the whole it's this myth, it's this legend or whatever. Like it's
Right.
I don't understand that.
Right. Now
And
that's
we
a
don't
good
have
point.
the answer.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. I definitely don't have the perfect answer. But what I will say is that there's a book. It's no longer canon, but it's called Darth Vader. The Rise of the Dark Lord. And it kind of deals with really the moments of him getting put into the Iron Lung. In the suit. That's kind of
Okay.
where the book starts.
Right.
So it's like it was right after Revenge of the Sith, and then when he hunts down the Jedi. And the only thing I can say is like in the book. When Darth Vader starts hunting down the Jedi, it kind of becomes so toxic to be associated with anything Jedi. You know what I'm saying? Because you're about to get your head chopped off. That maybe
Right.
folks kind of just, you know what I mean, just acted like they forgot about it because, like, if you was associated with anything associated with being a Jedi, you know what I mean, Darth Vader, and it was like, everything in the book is like that one scene in Rogue One. Like that's the entire book. It's basically like a
Right.
horror. Like if they made a movie version of it, it would be like a rated R, like horror. It would be like a slasher movie. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Because that's basically, he was just hunting down all the Jedi. You know what I'm saying? And just, like Jason,
I,
Friday the
I
13th.
I think they're waiting. I think they're waiting for the perfect timing to do that as a film, though.
Right.
You don't want to. I don't want to see that on TV. I need to see that they're going to do the film where Darth Vader is hunting down the Jedi. There's no getting
Right.
away from that.
Right.
That's the moment we've been waiting
That's
for,
gonna be the
just like
biggest
Luke.
movie ever.
Just like the Luke. But if you get one of these dudes who grew up with friends and all that old mess, you gonna have this being where Darth Vader doesn't even execute these guys, where it's like he has strong conversations about why you shouldn't be Jedi anymore. Like I don't want to see that. I want full fledged killer Darth Vader. Don't care. I mean, I want Darth Vader who don't care about the kids, man. Revenge of the Sith. When he went to the nursery and they said, Anakin, what are we gonna do? He went, Jerome. I'm like, that's the Vader. That's the Vader I know. I want, like you said, Curry, I want toxic Vader. I want Tom Vader to go out there, no regard to anything, man. That's gonna be the greatest movie ever. I think that's gonna be that'll be the biggest movie ever. And you gotta have the right people on board, and you can't. I
Right.
don't want to. You don't. We're not playing with it. It got to be 2.5 hours long, and you gotta see that.
Nah, and I think that's a great, segue to, the other part of our conversation is all these various Star Wars, you know, and I think the perfect segue is, we did find out, earlier this week, and Phil, thanks for hitting me up because I was like in the middle of doing some work, writing some emails, and you hit me up, reminded me that the Investor Day was happening, So I jumped on it, and started checking stuff out. But I do think a great segue being that we are talking about Darth Vader, the return of Hayden Christensen
Right.
as Darth Vader in the
That's
Obi-Wan
huge.
story. We can start with the
That's huge.
Obi-Wan series and then jump with there. But yeah, Big Phil, you jump in like, Ewan McGregor, who I thought was the best actor in the prequel series. You know what I mean? I thought he killed it as Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know, he returns to Obi-Wan Kenobi in Tatooine in the desert. You know, some big field quick review, then Nathaniel and then Lukeman, the Obi-Wan series.
But real quick, Kahari,
Oh.
who was the worst actor in that series?
I really
You want to say Hayden Christensen?
I thought Hayden Christensen.
He overacted, yo. He overacted, yo.
Yeah.
I think
I totally disagree with y'all.
The thing kind of, for me, kind of make him more solidified as a Darth Vader character was a Clone Wars series and how they portrayed the Clone Wars series, because he looked like Hayden Christensen, you know what I'm saying? So the whole Clone Wars series, and we got a chance to like kind of see him develop throughout the whole Clone Wars series, you know what I mean? So,
right. And I think he didn't play him for Rogue One.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Hayden Christensen in the suit for Rogue One?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Okay. I know he's gotten in the suit again at least once.
I disagree with y'all. The problem with the prequels wasn't his acting. The problem was the directing. George Lucas was stuck on doing this space opera. If you look at, he had people who've won Emmys, and you got Samuel Jackson, you got old girl playing Padme, you got all these classical actors, you got everybody in here. Yet everybody was super stiff and whatever because he wanted to stick with his space opera. He didn't allow Hayden to be whatever. I like Hayden as young Anakin, because he was a jerk. He was this. He was that. He was whatever. I mean, that's what, in my opinion, would make it easy for him to go into that particular phase. Like I want to see him kind of redeem himself. I feel like with these films, you need the right director. If you watch Rogue One, was different than the other movies because they didn't approach it like a space opera. They just did like, this is just a movie. We're gonna do a dope film, and this happens to be Star Wars. The last three films, they did space opera a little bit, but they didn't do as strong as the other ones. You know what I mean? So I feel like it all depends upon who's directing. You know, you get the right director. You got the right situations. You know, but I do feel like I would like for them to get better fight choreographers for some of the fight scenes.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I didn't like Revenge of the Sith. I thought Revenge of the Sith was great, but I feel like they need a better fight choreographer and editors in certain sequences, in my opinion. That's all.
I agree. Yeah, no, I definitely think Revenge of the Sith is underappreciated. You know, I think it gets lumped in. You know, and I think with Attack of the Clones. You know, I think Attack of the Clones should have been a war film, and then he made it into a romance. You know what I mean? You know, and that was his idea. You know, he wanted to make it more of a romance film where it should have been. You know, I think that's what made Rogue One work. Because, like you said, they did a war movie. You know, to me, it's almost like a World War II, you know, kind of film. It has that kind of feel. You know what I mean? They didn't go for like this. And I think that's what makes the universe so dope, is that you can. And I think that's what makes the Mandalorian work, because that's part of it. It's a Western, but like you said, you can do an Indiana Jones episode with the spiders, or you know, you could do, you know, little different, you know, you can even do different aspects of, you know, the Western, you know, and then sometimes, you know, it's just straight out of like Kurosawa, you know what I mean? You know, like the Jedi episode, you know what I mean? That was just basically like a Japanese samurai, you know what I mean?
Right.
You know,
he tried to get deep. Come on, man. Let's go. Let's talk about it now.
Yeah, but so all right, so we talked about Obi-Wan. So there's the Acolyte, we got Andor, Ahsoka, the Bad Batch, Lando, Rangers of the New Republic, Rogue Squadron.
I have no interest in Lando.
We're in the Lando Palace. What you talking about, Phil?
No. We in the Lando because I feel like they got the wrong person for Lando. I think Lando will be good, but I'm not excited for it. I think I should be more excited for what's the movie? Rogue Squadrons or Rogue or whatever, or what's the movie?
Yeah, Rogue Squadron.
Rogue Squadron. I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Right,
I'm big on directors.
I forget who the director of Rogue Squadron.
Patty Jenkins is the director. I'm not super familiar with her, but I'm familiar with the source material.
Right.
Like I'm that they dive into
Wonder Woman.
Oh, you like that? I hated that movie, but you like that.
Yeah, I'm not feeling her doing that movie. I don't feel her doing that movie. She got Wonder Woman riding lightning bolts in the new trailer. I'm good. Nah,
Hey,
we not
I
doing that.
bring up this, you talked about Investor Day, right, Kahari? Just want to say real quick that
Right.
it wasn't surprising that, they came up with all this content and that they finally are giving it back over to George Lucas and Dave Filoni and whatever they want to do with it, and basically giving it back over to the fans. It's because they lost mad money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They had to close down all their parks. You know what I'm saying? No movies in the theaters. You know what I mean? So yeah, give it back
Right.
to the fans so everybody can get up on this app. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they basically blew up the spot the other night. My daughter came to me. My daughter, she's a Star Wars head, right? She's in high school. She's Star Wars head, grew up Star Wars, obviously, right? She came to me like, yo, Disney got it on lock. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody ain't gonna be watching Netflix. Nobody ain't gonna be watching, you know what I'm saying? Like, for the next couple of years.
Right.
Her perspective from a teenager, you know what I mean? Looking at it like, yo, this is crazy, So I think they had to do that to definitely gain interest. They had to give it back over to the fans. And I think because of the pandemic and everything is the reason why we have this content the way we have it. It's like,
Right.
yo, they got to go in on this because people are going to respond, and they have.
Absolutely. Yeah, Nathaniel, could you just elaborate a little bit about, Rogue Squadron, the timeline, what it's about, and what to expect, in this part of the Star Wars story?
Actually, I can't. You know what I mean? Like, no, it was a novel I read a long time ago.
Okay.
I just remember it being one of my favorite ones. I read it till the cover fell off. I would have to pick it back up to kind of dig back into it and kind of be able to talk through, you know what I mean, where it fits into what we're talking about. But I do remember it like through my childhood. That was like my favorite Star Wars book. Like I bought it, rebought it a couple of times. I couldn't tell you where it fits into the whole scheme of things, though. I'm pretty sure it's after the fall of the Empire. Maybe
I believe so. Yeah.
If you're familiar with Era of the Empire, it may be around that time. I don't know, bro.
Right. And then we have Rogue Squadron, which looks, not Rogue Squadron, but actually Rangers of the New Republic, which is what was thought to be the Cara Dune spinoff show. It's going to follow, her exploits, and we got the Bad Batch animated series, which will take place after Order 66. And obviously the Ahsoka series. Go ahead.
I said that Bad Batch looks like it's gonna be off the hook, man. That Clone Wars, what they do, and the way they set it up in Clone Wars, as far as the Bad Batch crew and that crew, is
right.
Very interesting. But you was about to say something about the Ahsoka joint.
Yeah, and then you have the Ahsoka joint. You got Rosario Dawson, agreeing, and obviously that that whole episode, the Jedi and the Mandalorian was the setup, and as well as she came across, in that episode, it obviously seemed like it only made sense that they were gonna set her up, for a full series, just at the fan reaction, at the critical acclaim. I thought that she, really.
There was no better cast. Was her as Ahsoka.
Right.
Oh my
right.
goodness! It just like,
right.
we know her from a cartoon. So to see her in live action, that was just like, it was just so right to see her playing Ahsoka. You know what I mean? It was like just a right fit. It was just like, yeah, that fits. That fits perfect. It was the exact opposite of seeing Samuel L. Jackson as Mace Windu. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Y'all gonna push this dude down our throat because he's Samuel L. Jackson. You know what I mean? He's Mace Windu. Come on, man. You can get a better Mace Windu, right? This cast was totally on the opposite way. Thumbs up for that.
Right.
I have to add that Ahsoka is my personal favorite character, and her character arc. If you want to learn about anything, if you want to learn about and tie in Clone Wars to Return of the Jedi and past, her character ties that all the stories in. Like, her character is the character arc that ties in Clone Wars all the way up to the Return of the Jedi, in my opinion. Just how her character and how her character develops and so on and so forth. And the fact that she made a choice not to be a Jedi, but she didn't become a Sith. You know, I was talking to one of my
Right.
friends who didn't know, who just saw, man, who's been watching The Mandalorian. He was like, yo, man, she's a Jedi. I was like, no, she's not, yo. He's like, what? She's not a Jedi. I was like, no, man. I had to send him like Star Wars Rebels. I was like, yo, check this out, yo. You know what I'm saying? She says she's not a Jedi in here, right? And the fact that she said it makes a decision not to be a Jedi, but it's still on the light side is amazing. Is amazing. You
Right.
know, because mostly it's like, yo, I'm not a Jedi. I'm gonna go be a Sith, right? Or she's not even a gray Jedi. But I think they're kind of introducing that. Kahara, you may know a little bit more about that than me
Right.
as far as a Jedi scenario, because the opening scene of chapter 13 where she comes in, it was gray. You know what I'm saying? So I
Right.
was,
Yeah. Right. Right.
and I don't see Phil left because I wanted to know what Phil thought about that action sequence, because that action sequence, her action
Oh
sequence,
yeah, that was crazy.
off the chain. You think so, Nick? The thing, right?
Do I think so? What? She came in and tore it
Right.
down. And the thing is, here's the thing about that is I've watched most of Star Wars Rebels. I was never the hugest fan, but like she was always the character that stuck out the most to
Right.
me. And to me, I think what will be interesting is getting the perspective of someone a little younger than me who that was how they learned about Star Wars, was watching those shows, and then maybe a few years later seeing it on Star Wars Rebels. I bet that would be mind blowing.
Right. Right.
But on some real stuff, man. I'm just mostly super excited for that Kenobi. That's like the one that like I'm like through the roof for, man. Darth Maul, what? Darth Maul coming back, like Phil. That looks like it has what you're looking for, bro. It looks like they're about to get busy, bro.
That's the only that's the one I'm hyped for. I mean,
It looks like they're about
and
to get busy, bro.
is Maul definitely going to be in there though? I don't know.
That's what they're saying.
What the Bad Batch?
He was in the preview.
No, in the Obi-Wan.
He was in the
Oh
trailer.
yeah.
Was he in the trailer?
He's in the
He was
trailer.
the double lightsaber and everything. Yeah.
Is the trailer out? I didn't even see the trailer.
There's
Yo.
not a
Yeah.
trailer because I know when I watched it, it blocked it out. I know there's a fake trailer floating around, but when I watched the Disney investor thing, me and brother Kahari Kenobi was watching at the same time and sharing notes. But there would be
Yeah.
certain trailers where they would just put up trivia
Yeah.
so that you couldn't see them, and
Right.
Kenobi was one of them. So it was
Yeah.
only
I think the
available.
Acolyte was one as well. I think it was the
Right.
Acolyte and definitely Kenobi. Definitely. I think they had like, you know, like you had to be like in a, you know, I don't know how much you had to invest in the Disney to see that one.
Your money had to be
You can't afford this.
Yeah, your money had to be right. I got a question for y'all though. So here's my theory too. My theory is, you know, the Mandalorian is if it's going, it may be an ongoing series, but I think Grogu, whatever his name is, he's the little Yoda baby. He's not gonna make it. So I believe no, because they're going to be using him for making all those clones of what's his name.
Oh yeah. For
Right.
the Inquisitors. That's what they're
Yes,
Inquisitors.
that's
Yeah.
what
Right.
Hold on, put me deep, because I don't like. Hold on, put me deep. What you talking about, Phil?
So the reason why, if you watch it, so listen, I've been in the rabbit hole, man. I've been, and I'm like, I think my knowledge is pretty deep, but you got to go back, and I think the thing that makes Favreau dope, and once again, I'm gonna say this, what makes Mandalorian special. I don't know what these other shows are going to do. When I said the fact that he bridges the gap in between episodes, each episode has things from the past movies and the
Right.
movies that take place after it, whether it's
Right.
location, scenery, things that people have on their outfits. He talks
Yeah.
about certain things. Even the robot from Rogue One, the one that sacrificed himself, he's in the episode of Mandalorian as a statue. The
Right.
episode
Yeah.
where so he's he's statue because they honored him
Yeah.
for saving
Yeah.
their planet.
IG 88.
Right. So if you they don't mention it, they just walk right past it, and it's just something. So I
Yep.
think for me, that's what makes it deep. But we're gonna call him Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda. The reason why they want to use him as experiments because I think his blood or whatever it's going to be how they're able to make all those clones of the
Snoke
Emperor. You know,
and all them.
Snoke and all of them. They come from him. So yeah, man, this isn't
Yep.
going to be a happy ending. You know. He may
Right,
have
and,
sent him
that's
to
why
the
I think that
force or something
That's
what
for
you
big.
me.
said.
No, that's ill. That's an ill theory, Phil.
Wait, Phil.
But I
So
think that's
with
what makes Favreau.
just a
I think
question. So
basically
would
what,
that be
like,
connecting? My bad, Kahari. I was just asking Phil. So would the event you're describing be connecting the Mandalorian to like the Force Awakens in that series of movies?
Everything,
yep,
everything.
yep,
Yes, yeah. They've been doing that, and it's like
yep.
people miss that whole point.
And
That's what's going on.
I think what they're doing is what they're really doing is they're doing service to the canon. Is they're fixing the plot holes that were made.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
part of what they're doing. They're cleaning the plot holes. You know what I mean? Because there's way too many plot holes. You know, in the sequel trilogy. You know what I'm saying?
In that
Like,
same
to me, it's
episode
just like Palpatine just comes out of nowhere, and then we're just supposed there was never any foreshadowing. There was never anything. It was just Palpatine's back. Palpatine's raised dad. You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
You know.
there's finally a novel now about Snoke. There's a novel right now about Snoke. His backstory.
Okay.
It just came out like a month ago.
Like, and they disrespected Snoke too. But go ahead. Snoke's dope.
Real character in the movie, and we don't know nothing about him. And then he killed him off before we find out anything about him. It's like, what the mess, yo? Like in Force Awakens, when they introduced Snoke, it was like, yo, I can't believe this. Like, where we're going with this. And then they kill him off before we find out. Yo, that was so anyway, that was a big pothole. So yeah. So I just kind of wanted to add that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So they're
that's the issue with that second episode. That's the issue with the second episode. Caused way too many issues.
Yeah, that second episode, they had a lot of loose, they couldn't tie everything in. They had a lot.
And I wouldn't be surprised if there's probably a connection to Rey as well. You know what I mean? Because
But they show somebody wearing. But they show. If you go back and you watch that episode, in that classroom, there's a girl with the same hairstyle that she has. When Baby Yoda was stealing the cookies, he a little thief, he little hood Yoda. When he stole the little cookies, there was a girl with the same outfit and whatever that may not be her, but it's showing, and the timeline is right for whether that to be her in that class or for that was just what people rocked at that time, coming up from where they're from. So they're definitely clearing that up.
Right. So and also shout out to Farouk. Shout out to Farouk Al Saeed. Peace, man. Thanks for jumping in the conversation.
Is he in here now, or is he?
He's in the comments. He's in the comments.
Okay, so I just want to ask you about. You came on after we were talking about. Did you like the Ahsoka fight scene in chapter 14? Chapter 13, I mean.
I thought it was cool.
You thought it was cool?
I thought it was no. I was hyped for it.
Okay.
But I'm the type of person I got to go back and when I go back and watch it again, I'm like the choreography wasn't that dope, but I felt like it was dope to see that. Like it was great fan service.
I thought nice, man.
Huh?
Real good job at the beginning scene with the choreography with Ahsoka. All her fight scenes, I think, were dope.
I think it was cool. I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was whack.
Okay.
I didn't think it was whack. But I wasn't like, oh man, they going crazy. No, I will like when I first seen it, I was hyped. I was like, oh man, this is bananas. This is going crazy. I think
the setting was dope. You know what I mean? The setting was dope. You know what I mean?
That's the difference.
You know what I mean?
The bridge over
again, it was almost like it had a horror movie feel. You know what I mean? Because she was coming up out the shadow. It wasn't really the technique of how she was mowing them down.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was all stealth. You know what I mean? It was just stealth. You know what I mean? She was just
doing some stuff, man. She was like doing some real serious stealth stuff, man. She was doing some Sith stuff too. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot to do with what we were talking about earlier. Oh, we got Farouk in the chat. What's happening? Hey, Big Phil, earlier you was talking about how kind of like in the older movies, like a lot of the fight choreography didn't translate well or whatever, didn't age well. And I feel like, now we're getting to see them apply the force in situations where we have the technology to make it look really good right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. So now we're getting and now they're still figuring out ways what does that really look like for real? Because when we were doing this in 1977, you know what I mean? It was like Alec Guinness versus, you know what I'm saying, James or whoever was in the Darth Vader suit.
That was David Prowse.
Yeah.
David Prowse, come on, man. Come on, fam. Yeah, man.
Hey, I'm not 60 like y'all, man. Relax.
Hey, rest in peace. He just passed away too.
Yeah. My bad. Rest in peace, brother.
If I could jump in real quick, as soon as you man started chatting about the fight scene between Danny DeSanto's daughter and Tano. I thought that was a whack fight scene. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Thank my man.
That because you got Danny DeSanto's daughter, who's one of the best martial artists on the planet, and the reason I'm gonna take a hot take. I think Rosario Dawson's a little too old to be playing somebody wielding a Jedi, like wielding a lightsaber right now and be doing stunt work. So she got to have a really good body double. She, even in like the Luke Cage in the Marvel film, she showed she wasn't really athletically gifted enough to pull off some of the better fight scenes. They did a lot of cut. So in that part of it, I'm like, yeah, this is whack. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't care for it at all. I'm like, you're gonna waste Danny DeSanto's daughter with like cutaways. As a fight scene person, as a martial artist, I thought that was whack. But as a fan, I was like, okay, this is cool. It's cool, but it didn't do anything for me in terms of fight scenes. I thought it was pretty lackluster.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother. I'm glad we on the same page.
It would be like this. It'd be like if you had, remember when Georges St. Pierre came into
Civil War. No. Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier. You wanted to see him fight, and you did. It looked good. It was dope.
Right.
Stunts. He's able to fight.
Right.
Danny DeSanto's daughter. That's Bruce Lee. He trained Bruce Lee. He was Bruce Lee's best friend. She's a pioneer in not only just women's martial arts, but just martial arts on the planet right now. She's one of the foremost authorities on it. You want to see her get busy.
Right.
You want to see her get busy. You're not going to put, someone with that background out there against a lightsaber when she has like a Beskar spear and not expect her to get busy. And you're just giving me cutaways and stunt doubles. Nah, I wasn't feeling it. It's just me. I wasn't feeling it.
If I may interject my light-skinned violent kung fu lesson. So this is what I was saying with that. This is what I was, and this is where I was. But I was watching it like, the setting's cool, a little cool, and this is why directors are very important. For instance, when he brought up Georges St. Pierre, the Russo brothers are the god directors of action superheroes, in my opinion. I don't care what nobody say. When they wanted somebody to play Batroc the Leaper, they got Georges St. Pierre. When they got George, even though his scene was only very short, he was very Georges St. Pierre-esque. And he was very Batroc-esque. And Chris Evans is able to pull off the Captain America stuff, which was dope. But at no point did you ever feel like, oh, we're just dumbing this down for whatever. They went and got Georges St. Pierre for a reason. You don't go and get old girl and she don't go ham on and it looks cool, but when I'm watching, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for her to do, I'm looking for some run Shaw editing. And back to what but back to what Nathan said. And like what Nathan said, he was talking about, back in the day, my problem with the old Star Wars sword fighting, it wasn't that, George Lucas once again wasn't looking for super choreography. He was into the space opera, spaghetti western, the Zorro stuff. So that's why it had that particular look. You're able to do editing and you're able to do fight choreography, because some of the dopest fight scenes are in movies from the 70s and the 80s at that particular point. So that's not the reason. It's all about the director. But I'll be quiet so we can move forward. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's big facts. And the other thing, and I don't want to spend too much time talking about this, and I'm not sure because I jumped in late, but with the speculation about Pablo stepping out mid-season, what you didn't see in the first season of Mandalorian was a lot of good hand-to-hand combat. In the second season, you've seen that, and I wonder if it's because he was off the production set and they were able to put someone in the Mandalorian suit who had a better understanding of fight choreography and screen choreography to where you can get those hand-to-hand combat scenes. And maybe while he was out, he was actually training. He was working with his stuntman. He was working with his team. I just thought, especially just the episode we just seen, when he was on top of the freighter fighting the pirates off, the hand-to-hand scene looked better. The combat looked better. He looked more intelligent as a fighter. And again, you can't paint a Mandalorian on here as someone who can't fight. I don't want to see at this point, specifically with as much money as George Lucas and the mouse has to throw at these franchises and these properties, get people on there who know what they're doing. Like, they wasted Eco and the U.S. stunt team in the last Star Wars. That was a complete waste of the raid cast. You had some of the most popular martial artists on the planet, and you didn't do anything with them. I don't want that to happen in this series. You know, I want, and same thing with Rosario Dawson coming in. Like, I want high quality fight scenes, man. That's what I want. I want like the thing that was whack about great about the first three, you know, the I guess the last three, however you want to phrase it, with Hayden Christensen, the fight scenes was banging.
They were dope.
They were dope, man. Because you had Yen Wo Ping in there. You had a lot of great martial arts choreographies. You had a lot of people coming from the Matrix. You had a lot of people coming from, you know, that wushu fantasy Chinese background that were able to spice it up. And then, you know, they spent money on that and it looked like it. I think we deserve that as fans coming forward for this new, you know, these new installments.
Yeah. I mean, I could respond to the question about the Mandalorian. So actually, there's actually two stunt doubles that also share the suit with Pablo. There's one who is a shooting expert.
Okay.
Who does all the shooting scenes, like anything shooting, or when he's like, you know, shooting the fire or shooting like Batman, like hooks and grapples. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then there's a brother who's actually like an MMA cat who does all the hand to hand.
There we go.
You know, and
what's his face? It's the capoeira guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Lateef.
Lateef.
Okay.
Yeah, Crowder. Yeah. Lateef Crowder. Yeah.
So he does the hand to hand.
Yeah, I thought that was really dope.
And so a lot of times the other actors really ain't sure. I mean, they'll know because the nature of the scene, but the other actors interact with those two cats just as much as they do with Pablo, because like Pablo's mainly just in the speaking scenes.
Okay, that's
in the action scene.
I'll tell you what,
it's either the cowboys, like a cowboy cat and a capoeira cat.
Gina Carano has the best fight scenes on there.
Yeah.
The MMA girl.
Yeah.
She knows. Yeah, Cara Dune, like she knows what she's doing. You know what I mean? You don't have to tell her. Just like it's like, oh, throw this punch here. The camera's gonna be right there. Cool, I got it. And she gets busy.
Yeah,
I like that.
She looks like someone that'll kick your ass too.
She's 100% real.
Like in that one scene, I don't know if it was chapter 7 or 8, but the scene, I guess it was chapter 8. You know, when Mandalorian almost dies, when he has to take off his mask for the droid.
Yeah,
you shoot him up with the vodka. But the scene where where Gina Carano picks him up and drags him.
Yeah.
And shit, it was like that was real. That was like, you know what I mean? It was like everybody on the set was like, yo, like, you know what I mean?
That's dope.
There was no act. She just like, you know what I mean? She just grabbed dude and was dragging him for real. And they said everybody on the set was like, damn, like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, like she'll get busy. Like she's strong as fuck.
Yeah, that's
she really UFC fighter, man. She real. She the real deal. Holyfield.
Yeah,
I just feel like that right now.
I don't know if Farouk. So with my all-seeing brain, I feel like they're gonna kill Baby Yoda because of the because of the whole situation with the Emperor and the clones and Snoke and all that type of situation.
I heard you chatting about that. I agree. I think that's a hot take. I'm not upset at it because it's rooted in logic. Like it, you know what I mean? Like if his blood is special, I was thinking maybe on the other lines that they were gonna take his blood and maybe try to synthesize midichlorians. I don't know if we're ever gonna hear that word again, but if they were gonna try to, make a a force sensitive group of stormtroopers, like an elite group of like fighters that they could, inject with midichlorians and give them, abilities. Like that was where I went with it. But I like what Phil said too. Also, I think they're both feasible.
Right, and to Phil's point about the kind of Easter eggs that Favreau and Filoni go back to, I know like the logo that Dr. Pershing wears is similar to the logo of the cloners on Camino. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know if there's even a tie into that, like even going back to the, you know what I mean, to Cypher Diaz, you know what I mean, all that stuff from between episode 1 and episode 2 type stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely, so much, to talk about. So we got about 10 more minutes, you know what I mean? And like, does anybody just have anything specifically about any of the announced stuff, you know what I'm saying, from, Disney, Investor Day that we haven't, brought up? I guess before we get into that, the one thing I did want to say, was, and I know I talked about it with a couple of y'all, like over text, you know what I mean? Like, I do just want to take a moment to really just give a shout out to the scene in the mess hall in the last episode. You know what I mean? And I just feel like the way Rick Famuyiwa was able to create that tension and Pablo Pascal, you know what I mean, basically, you know, it was almost like for him, almost kind of like the miming, like 1930s, 1940s acting, because he wasn't like obviously almost. I felt like him saying something would almost have to acknowledge the fact he didn't have the helmet on. You know what I mean? And he was just like, you know, and his just everything with his eyes, and he was just like, "Nah, man, be cool, man. Like, where you going? Like, you know what I mean? Like you can look at it like, yo, be cool, man. Like that whole scene, I think could just be broken down. You know what I mean, on so many levels. I feel like Rick, you know, Famuyiwa really just captured, you know what I mean, that tension in that moment. You know what I mean? And then like Bill Burr's character just like bugging out like at the worst possible moment.
That's what I was gonna ask. My bad, Fro. Go ahead.
No, go on.
I was just gonna ask, like, at what point in that episode did Bill Burr stop being the comic relief? Because it felt like there was just like a maybe like a split second switch where it's just like, all right, this dude's like funny, everything he's saying is kind of like a little witty. Then it's like, oh wait, this is going somewhere else.
I like
dude's head off.
Believable as a badass.
Yeah,
right.
I thought he brought that energy, like, because we know Bill Burr is funny. Like, we know he's like really vulgar. Right. He's witty. He's really witty. And Bill Burr, you could tell Bill Burr is comfortable around black people. I know he got a black wife. I know he has a black daughter. But like, you can tell he grew up in a part of Boston where he was comfortable around black people, right? And maybe too comfortable, maybe a little too comfortable. But
he's the cat that got the pass, though. He's Irish, man. You can tell.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he reminds me of like a cat from the north side. You know what I mean? He reminds me of a lot of cats I grew up with on the north side of Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? He has that vibe.
Exactly. But on screen, though, I was like, you know what? I totally believe Bill Burr in this role. Like, I believe kind of like, you know, the rebel with a cause. I was like, I'm with this. So like, I like this.
Right.
I'm okay.
Right.
And you know, I was hoping they didn't kill him at the end of this episode because his character kind of fulfilled his purpose. Like he redeemed himself so he could die. But I was like, no, I'd like to see him return.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it open like that. I think he's going to come back. You know what I'm saying? That's just my, you know, like in further, if they have a season 3, what have you. I think that the mess hall scene is a classic example of just classic storytelling, classic scene making. Like every classic movie has a tension scene like that. You know, yeah. Western, like you talk about Western, every classic Western has a scene like that. You know what I mean? Whereas it's like, you know, something's about to go down, you know, when. And the funny thing about that scene was it was long.
Like, yeah, it was good dialogue, great dialogue.
It's 3.5 minutes. But like, I think like, 3.5 minutes, that's nothing. But 3.5 minutes on screen is a long time. Mm-hmm. But it was great dialogue, great acting, great facial expressions, all of that. And then it culminated with him shooting. Like, I was like, yo. Like
that was kind of like Han and Greedo.
Exactly.
It was like Han and Greedo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yo, I'd watch a Bill Burr spinoff.
If you give it, listen, I mean, you know, the thing about Disney having Star Wars, right, is, and we've seen it with the last 3 trilogies, we're not always going to get quality stuff, right? Kind of like The Walking Dead, it ran its course and it got really whack, it got dry. Even with the Marvel Universe, you're going to give us all of these cinemas, all these properties. They're not all going to be dope. But if you can make a Bill Burr...
We're going to talk about that with our guy off the phone, too, because we got the ops. Nate's the ops. So we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about the Marvel stuff.
Come on, bro. Say it to my face, man. Come on, dog.
That he's the ops, eh? But yeah, no, I mean, I think, you know, I haven't watched any of the trailers yet for the new announced properties. I've been too busy to watch them yet. But yo, bro, I have work to do. I got an organization to run. I don't really just have to.
I'm the ops, Phil. I'm the ops. Like, no
excuse. There's no excuse. If you haven't watched the pilots yet, at least 1 or 2 of them.
I haven't watched anything.
That's no excuse.
All done today, inshallah. Like that was the plan.
Wait a minute. Let me ask you this though. I'm gonna be done, man. You ain't watched no pilots, but you got time to put up shoe reviews. Man, don't tell me I'm no organization, man. I see what's more important than you, my brother.
I can't even respond to that because he made a good point. I can't even respond to that. Yeah.
I see the new Jordan review every day, man. Hey, yo, these new Pumas, man, they nice. When I'm out there protesting, man, my feet don't get sore, man. That's what I'm doing, yo. Let me tell you something, Rick, man.
I'm leaving.
I'm gonna need
Bye,
for you to
everybody.
dump
Have a good
on.
day. Thank you for allowing me to come in and crash. Bye.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Hey, I think to his point though, he was trying to make a Bill Burr spinoff of that would go super hard just because he's
Yeah.
hilarious. Like in that scene that he was in, like the way that they wrapped up that episode, man. First of all, I was sick that they left him on planet. I was like, oh, he's about to join the
Right.
gang.
Right.
We got, and he was sniping dudes from half a block away with no scope. Like, oh, they need him in the squad, and he's funny.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying, I could go for that. They're gonna leave him on planet, but my idea behind the spinoff was that like the whole episode he was talking about like making up everything he'd done to the people of that planet. You know what I mean? All the stuff he'd done, and like as working for the Empire, and that would be dope to see a spinoff of kind of him doing that work. You know, maybe. Or like, him kind of going and fighting the Empire on those terms. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that,
or even like story where they do some flashbacks to like Operation Cinder. You know what I mean? Because like that's all stuff that's in canon. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And and I was ill because it was like the Imperial cat was kind of like came across to me as kind of like a like some sort of a cat who's like a instructor at like Virginia Military Institute or like the Citadel. You know what I mean? He was like, like a Southern American, like, like the dude who coaches Clemson. You know what I'm saying? Just like those Southern, football coach, military, dudes. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they were all heroes. You know what I mean? And then he's like, oh, really? They were heroes? You can see Paulo Pascal's like, yo, be cool, man. Like, what are you, like, what? Like, it's like, oh, they were heroes. Oh, yeah, they were all dead.
wait, but the delay reaction after he shot him, then everybody's looking around like, what's happening?
Right.
Then he shot dude. They're like, oh my goodness.
But don't you think that really what happened though? But, Nate, don't you think that really what happened? Like, it's like, yo, what just happened? Like,
yeah,
you're in the mess hall, you look like, yo, like that was a real reaction. Like,
I mean, from being in the military, I couldn't imagine being in a military chow hall. So like you're somewhere 50 miles in the middle of a military base. You're in there, and then you hear a gun go off, and somebody shoots somebody else, and you're just like, what? Like, what? In fact, real quick, I know we don't have much time. I got a real story about that. So my first like 6 months in the Marine Corps, I got stuck on duty, which meant that I had to wear a stupid little belt. I got a gun with no bullets in it, and I had to go walk around the barracks and make sure nobody, like the guys who were older than me, weren't getting in trouble. 7 a.m, I hear a gunshot go off in the barracks, right hand up to God. So they're like, yeah, you have to go respond to that gunshot. So I'm just like, respond and do what? They're like, well, if it's an emergency, call the police or whatever. So I go to knock on this dude's door. He has his flak jacket hanging up in the closet, and he's shooting it with his own gun to see if it'll actually stop a bullet. And I'm just like, bro, you can't do that. Like, there's someone who sleeps on the other side of that wall. You know what he did? True story. This is how you know, Phil, like, this is how you know I'm not a bad guy, because I'll tell you this true story. He shut the door, he put his gun away, and he turned on Katy Perry, and he made me come cut his hair. like jail, dog. But yeah, man, this was awesome, guys.
Yeah. Go ahead, Phil.
I'll be done. The one story I really want to see in Star Wars, and I don't want to see it in the TV show, it may be in the show, is something I think that people overlook. I'm gonna get the names wrong, so bear with me. In Rogue One, remember when her dad or whatever was working for the Empire and was creating stuff, and then he put the failsafe in there or whatever? I would love to see a movie. I would love to see a movie about him hating his job, but doing it because of whatever. And the fact that this dude has to interact with a young, reckless Vader who just force chokes people for no reason. Like, this dude is literally setting up the destruction of planets, but is hoping, like, who do you contact? Who do you talk to at the Empire that you feel close enough they're not going to snitch on you, that you could get this information out there that, hey, I put a fail safe in here. Like, how do you
Right.
do that? Like, who's the other? Like, how do you like? You just have a random conversation with somebody while they're killing multiple people and say, you know, man, I don't really think that's really cool. You know, I don't really think that's cool either. Hey, let's have a bite to drink. You know what I mean? Like, how did that conversation happen? Like,
So,
Right.
so, so
we're
Phil,
in
it's
the
kind of like where
rebels.
Rogue
Get
One
the
was
Empress
a
right.
kind of like where Rogue One was a war movie. Like that would be like a spy movie or something.
Right.
Yeah, that
Exactly.
was
Right. And that's
And
actually the book.
you could like Rogue One. Say it again.
Yeah, there's actually a book called Catalyst, which is the prequel. It's the prequel book, which actually
Okay.
is exactly about what you're talking about, Phil. It's like the story of Galen Erso, and it ends
Thank
where
you,
he
my brother.
escapes. You know what I mean? He escapes, you know what I mean, from the you know what I mean, from the Empire, and then you know how Rogue One starts. That's when they recapture him to
Right.
finish the work.
Ah,
You know what I'm saying? But
Okay.
yeah, like you know, and Saul Guerrera, like Forrest Whitaker's characters in it and shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Now it's dope. It's called Catalyst, and actually, you know, all these stories are so thick, you got to go back to them. So now you make me actually want to go back to Catalyst. You know what I'm saying? Because I saw it. You know, I read it right before it came out, right before Rogue One did. You know what I'm saying? So I read it
Okay.
before I went to go see Rogue One. But it's
Okay.
basically that's the story about how he, you know what I mean? You know, because the process of him actually finding out, you know, what they're doing. Because it's kind of like being a nuclear scientist. Nobody has all of the pieces together. You know what I mean? When you're building a nuclear bomb,
Right.
everybody doesn't have all the pieces. But somehow he found out what they were building, you know, with the kyber crystals. You know what I mean? Because it's the same, obviously, the same crystals they use for lightsabers.
Right.
go.
You know what I
I
mean?
know. See,
You know what I mean?
that's why you are the man with all the knowledge. You know, I'm a I'm a Marvel fan, but the thing that I really appreciate about Star Wars is that for them it's very important to connect every piece. There's
Right.
no alternate situations. There's no this is that. If there's something wrong with the plot, we're gonna fix it. We're not gonna fix it with some BS. It may take us a couple years to get to it, but we're gonna get to it.
Right.
Yeah,
We're gonna get to it. And
right.
I think that's the one thing I appreciate. Like I feel like DC comic universe, movie universe, they just doing whatever they feel like doing. So I don't, you know, whatever. Y'all do whatever y'all want to do. I think Marvel has it right. I'm not a fan
Right.
of alternate realities. I'm not a fan of alternate universes. I feel like that's lazy writing to make
Right.
to fix up things that could have happened in time. I don't like that. But I mean we're there now. But yeah, we gotta do this. We gotta do this. Star. What we need to do is for the last episode, we might need to do like a live reaction to the episode. I think that would be
Yeah.
dope.
Well, I know. Yeah. Well, I know Disney Plus has that thing where you could watch it simultaneously. We could plan. You know what I'm saying?
Let's do
Because I know
that.
you can
Let's
watch.
do that.
You know they have that. I know the Disney Plus app. I don't know. Have you ever gone in and saw that where it's like you could watch? You know what I
I
mean?
watched. I saw some fan reviews do it. You know, I saw YouTube
Okay.
on it.
Okay.
He was giving a live reaction as he was watching it on YouTube.
Yeah. So let's set that up for next weekend.
Let's do that.
You know what I mean?
I'm
This
hyped
is
for it
super
too.
dope.
Yo, this
You
was
know,
all right, man. I appreciate you, bro. You know what I'm saying? This was love, man. We need to.
oh yeah. No, we had to pull this together. And Phil, I like how you said like the comic book piece is so important though. You know what I mean? That's why I wanted to pull you in. You know, because like Star Wars wouldn't be what it is, you know, without the comic book movement, you know, in the late 70s.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
That created the
Definitely.
toys and created the collectibles and all the other products, you know what I mean? And that's what made Lucasfilm what it was, you know what I mean? You know,
Right.
you
Right.
know, you know, even in the interviews with George Lucas, you know, he was like the money that they made off the toys and the comic books, he took that money and put that back to Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. That's the only way he was able to make those movies because
Wow.
the studio put some money up, but they didn't put all the money up. You know what I'm saying? That he needed. So it's like at the core of what this is all about is you always got to have the comic book heads, beyond just the folks that jumped on because they like Star Wars. Is that the
Right.
comic book heads and that culture is a foundation. You know what I mean? That's why
Right.
Dave Filoni. I mean, Dave Filoni is one of those dudes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's funny you
Right.
said that, Corey, because that's what they're doing now. It's like that's what they're doing
Right.
now with the Disney Plus. They're taking it back to the core, like back to the original. Like they said, it seems like a video game sometimes when you're watching it. And now this whole Mandalorian series is a comic book, yo.
Right.
I just realized
Yeah.
that it's a comic book, man. We're
Yeah.
watching a
Right.
comic book. Yeah. The way it's written,
Right.
it's written like a comic book, yo. Seriously.
And I think the thing with them is that
Right.
they realize, and no problem with the casual fans. They make you casual fans can jump in. But I think other companies have to take notice that you have to take care of your hardcore audience.
Right.
You have to take care of your original audience. You take care of your original audience, everything else will fall in place.
We're the
And
early
that,
adapters, man. Everybody's gonna come. Everybody's gonna follow the early adaptation, yo. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Right.
That's
Right.
we
Right.
like I said, we've been here. And I'm gonna tell you the last point. The reason why I think they didn't do Yoda toys the first season for the first couple episodes because they knew they was gonna kill him, and they didn't want to make it a kiddie thing. Why
Right.
else would you do? Well, and of course, they didn't want nobody to know. I mean, they didn't want to give away the secret, but still, I think it played part of like that maybe they won't kill him, but I feel like it's not going to be this happy situation in the end. I could be totally wrong, but for that character to be so cute and everybody love him, for him not to show up in these later things where there's no Jedi's, there's no whatever, he's nowhere to be found. Oh yeah, he ain't gonna make it's gonna be a hard decision, but he ain't gonna make it.
right.
You know, and then one last thing I'll say, you know what I mean, is that the video game thing. And shout out to Farouk and Nate that jumped on. Also, shout out to my brother Neri in the comments. Is like when you check out the Star Wars Gallery, the documentary series that goes along with the Mandalorian, kind of behind the scenes, is they're using game engine technology for the special effects. So it's not a green screen, it's not a blue screen, it's an LED screen, 270 degrees around the set, and as the actors move within the environment of the back screen,
it's crazy.
It moves with them like a video game. You know what I'm saying? It's the first film that's ever used this technology before. You know what I mean? They have a set called the Volume, where it's just where they literally, and they said that's why the scenes and the acting is so real, is because the actors say it feels like you're really in that environment, even more so than like on a sound stage, because you're like 270 degrees surrounded by an LED screen that's changing. Like if you take a step this way, the light is going to cast a shadow that way to make it look real. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
It's Favreau. Yeah. So I guess with that, we'll end this. Shout out DJ Big Phil. When's the next time? Are you doing anything, DJing online, virtual, or anything like that we need to know about?
I might do something today. I don't know, man. I might just throw something in. I might not do nothing. I mean, I've been chilling, man. I might even jump on the game today, man. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Right. That's what's up. Shout out to Luke Salam. Thank Abdul Salam. Thank you for joining us. Shout out to Farouk Al Saeed who joined us, as well as Nathaniel Broadus. We'll be back sometime next week. We'll have to figure that out on the chat when it's going to work again. I think we're going to do some sort of live reaction of the final episode of season 2, The Mandalorian, chapter 16. So until then, you know what I'm saying? May the force be with you. This is the way, and all that fly stuff.
Peace.
Peace.
All right, so peace.